Can fasting help tinnitus? In my experience, it can. I've had a few clients who have got into fasting and they found that the more they fast and the more the body detoxes and settles, the more tinnitus can back off. And if you watch Liam Boehm's videos, he is somebody who had tinnitus, and fasting really transformed his tinnitus and got rid of it, combined with a very healthy eating regime. So if you're interested in fasting, it's something that's incredibly good for your health. You need to check with your doctor first whether you are able to fast. There's some conditions where it may not be helpful, for example with diabetes, but certainly once you've been given the go-ahead to fast, it's an incredibly interesting practice. If you watch really good documentaries on fasting, for example the BBC documentary Eat, Fast and Live Longer with Dr Michael Mosely, this Horizon documentary gives mind-bogglingly good information. It's the science of fasting. You watch it and you think, I should just fast for the rest of my life. It's so incredibly beneficial for the body. And the science of fasting on YouTube just gives you incredibly interesting and useful information that frankly makes it silly not to fast. Or you can watch the hunk Thomas DeLauer's YouTube videos, where you see him meditating on a train, and he's got really interesting videos full of enthusiasm, packed with really useful information. If you watch all these videos, you'll probably quite quickly think, my gosh, I should fast, because this is a life-prolonging activity that makes your brain work so much better. And having done a 5-day fast recently, my hearing was so much better. I ended up hearing trains passing on the other side of the building here where I've worked for 8 years that I've never heard before. So I'm not quite sure how that works, but my senses definitely got much, much clearer, and I felt much stronger. It's a little bit of a muscle that you have to develop. So when you first start it, I would recommend just easing into it gently, maybe trying the 5-2 diet. That's where 2 days a week you just have one meal in the afternoon. So it's like semi-fasting. You just don't have any breakfast, and then you have a really late lunch or really early supper, and that's it, just one portion, and then you keep going to the next day. And if you do that on a regular basis, twice a week, it's very easy just to have one meal in one day. Initially you sort of it feels a bit strange if you've been used to eating 3 times a day, but quite quickly you can adapt. And then once you've got into a regular fasting habit, it becomes so much easier to do water fasts, where you just have water for one day, and then maybe you might move up to 2 days of fasting, and then you might move up to dry fasting, which is where you have no water or any food for a day and no contact with water. And this is, you can feel it actually, you can feel that it's the real heavy duty fasting that causes the most response in the body. So my advice is to ease into it gently, remembering that tinnitus is a stress related symptom, and one of the main things that activates tinnitus is fear or overwhelm or threat or sudden shock or change. So my advice is to ease into it gently, and when you get into fasting, it is so incredibly good for your health. It can drop you into a much calmer state of mind, and the mind and the body just feels stronger and clearer, and the stress levels, the stress responses can really settle. You can start to feel strangely liberated, and you have hours free every day, and you're not being pulled into buying food, cooking, thinking about food, which takes up so much time. You suddenly have lots of space opening up in your days and feeling strangely free of all the things associated with eating. And then when you get back into eating again afterwards, can take a while just to crank your digestive system back up. if you watch Thomas DeLauer's videos, he gives a lot of information on the best foods to eat. He goes into fasting in great detail. It's just fascinating because once you're back up and running again afterwards, you really do feel the health benefits. And several of my clients have said they've been getting into fasting, that they've done a program of fasting and their tinnitus has backed off, it's stopped. And I remember actually when I had very low level tinnitus, and I went on my Candida diet because I had Candida. You don't need to do a Candida diet unless you've got Candida, but it's a very strict diet, and that really tipped my tinnitus into oblivion. So I know that our diet and our stress levels can be really, really improved by fasting.